Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about solutions. It's lesson 1 in unit 5. Uh, Before we describe what are solutions, I want to think just for a second about breathing. But don't just think about the fact that you are breathing. Think about all the variables that have to be just to in order to create the air and to make the air breathable. So you need oxygen in the air, but also if the air was just oxygen, you would die. The oxygen has to be mixed with nitrogen and other gases like carbon dioxide, water vapor. Uh, so the air that you are breathing is a solution. To understand what is a solution, we want to know what is it exactly. Is it a mixture? Is it an element? Or is it a compound? To understand this one, I want you to think about how can matter be classified first. Actually, matter, the meaning of matter, is made up of basic ingredients known as atoms. So the atom is the smallest unit, as you know, is the building block for all matters. Okay? Substances are classified as element. So the first one, we can classify substances as elements first, the first one. The second one, compounds. The third one, mixtures. In this lesson we care more about mixtures, but I want to make like a review what is an element or what is a compound. So look now at the definition for each one of them. Element is made of only one kind of atom. Example of elements: oxygen, hydrogen, O2, H2, these are elements. A compound is made up of different kinds of atoms that are chemically combined. For example, glucose, carbon dioxide. A mixture contains a variety of elements and compounds. So elements and compounds that are not chemically combined together. Look at the difference between compound. They are chemically combined together. But what about mixtures? They are not chemically combined together. So these points are very important. Because we're talking about these substances, they might be pure or impure. A pure substance is a substance, or a pure substance is a substance with definite physical and chemical properties. Pure substances are made up of just one type of particles. So, elements and compounds are what? Are pure substances. How? For example, you have a cup of water, pure water. It has only water particles, only water molecules. If you have, for example, hydrogen gas only, it has only an element hydrogen. So if you're talking about elements alone, yani I'm not talking about different elements together, I'm talking about the same type of element. And if you're talking about compounds, I'm not talking about different compounds. Yeah, for example, if you have H2O, water, pure water, it doesn't contain anything with it, it means it's a pure substance. So elements are and compounds considered as what? As a pure substances. What about mixtures? So mixture is a combination of two or more substances that are combined physically but not chemically. Yani they don't make, like we talked before, ionic, covalent, metallic bond. They what? They are physically combined together. This one is important. Not chemically combined together. Mixtures are not pure for sure, because you're talking about more than one substances are combined together, so they are not pure. They are not the same type of elements. They are not the same type of compounds. They might be different elements together, different elements and different compounds together. So mixtures are not pure substances and do not have definite properties. Now, because we're talking about solutions, I want you to know how to classify mixtures. We have three categories of mixtures, three classification for mixtures. Let's start talking about this. Before talking about the classification of mixtures or how to classify mixtures, let's talk about the properties of mixtures. Substances with a mixture keep their identities and individual properties. It's not like compound. We talked before to the chemical reaction change the properties, right? But here in mixtures, because they are physically combined together, so they will keep their identities. Mixture can be separated by physical changes, although some mixtures are difficult to be separated. I want you to go back to grade 7. We talk different ways how to separate mixtures. If you remember, if you have a magnetic material, you can use a magnet, or you can use filter paper. Sometimes you can use the sieve. It depends on the mixture that you have, or evaporation. These are how to separate mixtures, because they are not chemically combined together, so you can separate them. Okay, how can mixtures be classified? We have two classifications. The first one, heterogeneous, is a mixture, one that does not have a uniform composition. I'll give you now examples of heterogeneous. But before, the other classification, homogeneous mixture, has the same composition throughout. To understand these and to give examples, look at this one. For example, how mixtures be classified. We said heterogeneous. Heterogeneous particles, if you have the component of the mixture, actually these particles they will not disappear. They will not be uniform. The particles in suspension are spread throughout a liquid or gas, but are too large to stay mixed unless shaken or stirred. For example, if you have sand and you put it in water and you start to stir them, do you think the sand particles will be dissolved in the water? For sure not. Okay, so the particles of sand at the end, if you leave the beaker for a while, they will settle down. So particles in suspension, particles settle down after a while, because you can see the particles. It's not clear. Okay, here we call it what? Heterogeneous. Okay, so this is the first one. The first one, heterogeneous. Examples of them, they are called suspensions. What are suspension? These are heterogeneous mixtures. First, particles are spread throughout a liquid or gas, and they are very large. They will not dissolve. At the end, the particles will settle down. Okay, what about the second thing? The solution. It's what our lesson is about. The solution is heterogeneous or homogeneous? It's homogeneous. Why it's homogeneous? It's homogeneous because, for example, if you have salt and you put it in water, if you can't see the particles of the salt, okay, and after you dissolve the salt in water, actually it's the solution here. if you have a light, the light you can see through it. So a solution is a homogeneous mixture in which one substance is dissolved in another substance. Okay, so the third one here, let's talk about the solution. The third one, they are called colloids. Colloids are heterogeneous, have particles that are unevenly spread throughout the mixture. Unlike suspension particles, in colloid are too small to settle out of the mixture. So the particles will not settle down in the beaker. They will stay in the mixture. You can see them, but at the same time they will not settle down. So at the end, to summarize these points, mixtures are classified by two categories: homogeneous and heterogeneous. Okay, depending on homogeneous and heterogeneous, the colloids and suspensions are heterogeneous mixtures. Solution is what is homogeneous mixture. Now I'll give you examples for each one of them. For suspension, you have example snow globe. If you look at it, it's what? It's a suspension. Example of solution like alloys, steel, or for colloids, the example is the gelatin or milk. To make you able to understand it more, I want you to make an experiment at your home to understand the difference between suspension, solutions, and colloids. In this experiment, I want you to bring three glasses or 3 cups. Okay. In each cup, I want you to put the same amount of water. Okay. Then in the first beaker, I want you to add salt, NaCl. In the second beaker, I want you to add some soil. In the third beaker, I want you to add milk. Then stir them, all of them. Stir beaker number 1, beaker number 2, beaker number 3. After that, bring a light or flashlight. Okay. Try to look at each one of them. What's gonna happen to the light once you direct this beam flight to it. Then write your observation and your result. It's a homework for you to write your observation and your result. Think about them and write them. Send me all the observations and results, then your conclusion to my email. Okay. Thank you. If you have any question, we will you can send me your questions. Thank you for listening.